Hi, I'm Wes Carr from Axe and Hand Guitars in DeKalb, Illinois, and we're just going to talk a little bit about some of the proper steps a guitarist should take before they begin playing. The two things that many guitarists don't consider is the fact that they need to warm up and that they need to consider their posture. So let's look at posture first. It's very common for us as guitar players to kind of watch TV or maybe a movie while we're playing, or just in general slouch and kind of relax. I would say we're probably the most relaxed musicians in the world. You don't usually see classical violinists relaxing on the couch while they're practicing. So how do we say? Well, basically we want our toes, our knees, our chest, our shoulders and head all to be facing the same direction. That seems pretty common sense, but the problem is that when we're playing, we'll generally have our guitar angled out. So the neck will usually be a little bit farther forward than the bottom. And what we'll tend to do is we'll rotate our body to match that angle. And that can be very bad for our spine because we're keeping it twisted the whole time, and our spine obviously doesn't want to be like that. Everything else is pretty much common sense, exactly what your grandmother yelled at you at. Don't slouch too much. You don't want to sit militant because that's too much tension. That's really forcing yourself to focus. You can be relaxed. In fact, one of the things you want to consider when you first sit down is kind of doing a mental checklist, making sure every part of your body is relaxed and isn't holding on to extra tension. So maybe go through your neck. Your shoulders are usually pretty bad. Your back, your hands especially. And tension is in a lot of ways musicality's worst enemy. The more tense you are, the harder it is for you to flow well or to play quickly and get to the next note. So you want to make sure you're relaxed. That's why whenever you look at a guitarist and go, man, it looks like he's not even trying, he looks so relaxed. Yeah, he is relaxed. He isn't trying as hard as you might be. So the next thing to consider is warming up. Well, before we really start warming up, we want to look at our hands and make sure they're doing everything they should be doing. So we're going to work in positions as we run through these warm-ups. Now a position is whatever fret your pointer finger is on, and then the next 3 frets. You want to make sure that each fret gets its own finger. So if we're in first position, our pointer finger is on the 1st fret, middle finger is on the 2nd fret, 3rd on the 3rd fret, and pinky on the 4th fret. You want to keep your fingers nice and curved and nice and arched so they're not touching any other strings and they have that freedom. Your thumb should be placed behind whatever fret your middle finger is on. So in this case, it'll be on the 2nd fret. Now as far as your pick goes, you don't want to hold your pick like this because you're always pushing on you a lot of tension to make sure you don't drop it. Make a thumbs up, put your pick so that the point is away from the knuckle, and then just rest your thumb on top of the pick. And you should basically have almost a fist. Remember to keep that fist still nice and relaxed and give the pick some room to move. As the pick goes down, it'll catch into your thumb. As it goes up, it'll catch into your pointer finger, so it's virtually impossible to drop it. Let's take a look at our first warm-up. We're going to start just doing the 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to do that on each of the strings. Now there are a few things you want to consider when you're doing this. Make sure that all of the notes are flowing into one another. So that as soon as I play, as soon as I'm done with the first one and I go to the second one, that note connects to the note from before. So you don't want any of this chop that you hear a lot of guitarists do when they're warming up. Make sure that they're all coming together. And that's all going to come down to timing. Does your pick hit the string as soon as your next finger comes down? And if not, really work on that. Try to make all the notes flow together. Also, the main use for this is that it stretches your hand out, right? A lot of people will notice that it's going to be very difficult for your pinky to reach all the way to the 4th fret. The reason for that is that these 2 fingers are actually connected by tendons and muscles. So if your ring finger isn't going far enough, your pinky won't either. So when you're running through this, make sure that all of your fingers are getting as close to the inside of the fret as possible. And as you finish that and you do it all throughout maybe the first position, try moving it up. Practice moving your hand. Now as you move, make sure that your thumb doesn't drag behind, but that your thumb follows your middle finger together. Your whole hand moves as a unit. You can also use this to help warm up your right hand. Instead of just doing all down strums, you might want to try to cross pick it. Meaning that your hand goes up and down, up, down, up, down. Good. Now the next sort of issue that a lot of guitarists will run into is switching strings without letting, without the notes ringing over each other. Remember that the guitar should always imitate the human voice. And so you want these nice, clean connections when you switch the strings without kind of any of the notes playing at the same time. So, kind of to work through that, we're going to do something very similar. We're going to put our pointer finger on the first fret of the low E string, our middle finger on the second fret of the A string, our ring finger on the third fret of the D string, and our pinky finger on the fourth fret of the G string. We're going to play 1, 2, 3, 4, and then back. Now as you do that, make sure that when you play the second string, you lift the finger of the string before it. So now you have three things to worry about. As soon as the finger comes down, the pick still needs to play it at the same exact time, and you have to lift the finger that played before. And the idea is basically you don't want the chop still, but you don't want the notes ringing over. So getting this nice kind of clean tone out of what you're doing. And you can also move that one up. So now beyond that, there are still some mental tricks that warm-ups can help resolve. Now we stated earlier that certain fingers will be connected by tendons and muscles. Now that can make it confusing for your head. You will think that you're moving your ring finger and accidentally move your pinky. And I'm sure every guitarist has been here, especially when you get into these difficult picking pieces. So to run through that and to kind of clean up that problem, play 5, 6, 7, 8, using pointer finger for the 5th fret, middle for the 6th, ring for the 7th, and pinky for the 8th. Now keep all those fingers down, but move one at a time to the next string. So we'll do 5, 6, 7, 8, 5, 6, 7, 8, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you'll notice that none of the fingers moved until it was their turn. And that can be very, very useful to help teach your mind which finger is supposed to be moved when, and kind of help those two things connect. You want to take this warm-up very slowly. The faster you do it, the less likely you're going to do it correctly. And it's the least musical warm-up, so it's okay to let the notes kind of ring over each other. You're really only focusing on certain physical aspects of your playing. So a lot of these warm-ups can help obviously get your hands ready, build the muscle, help you play longer, but a lot of the don't forget that a lot of the aspects that you're really working on is the musicality behind it. When you're working on a song, in general, you will be consumed with the patterns or the notes that you're supposed to be playing, and you won't really consider how does it sound. You might think you do, but you really don't. It's important to think about, how are these notes connecting? How is the volume? How is the tempo? Is it moving too much? How is my hands? Are they working in the right position? Am I relaxed? And it's very common to forget those things as you're practicing the song. So let this be an opportunity as you're doing these warm-ups to really listen to yourself playing and really try to connect these notes. Thanks for listening, and we hope to be able to give you some more videos soon. Thanks.